There are growing concerns about this year's flu season. Some infectious disease specialists are warning of the global spread of an evolving strain that could be a mismatch for this year's vaccine. Alberta has reported its first influenza death of the season. Dr. Christopher Labos is an epidemiologist and cardiologist, and he joins us from Montreal to talk more about this. Nice to see you, Dr. Labos.
Good to see you too.
Okay, so we're hearing about this notable uptick in the number of flu cases across the country. Is that a concern for you?
Well, yes, it is a concern. I mean, it is to some degree predictable. This is flu season, so we are going to start to see an increased number of cases. But, you never want to see any cases. You always want the cases to be zero. So what you don't want to see is you don't want to see a very large uptick very early in the season, because that would suggest things are going to be much worse than they typically are.
Now, we have heard that this is an evolving strain of the flu, and it is a mismatch, or it may be a mismatch, for this year's vaccine. Can you explain how that happens?
Right. So the thing people have to remember is that the flu is not one virus. The flu is actually many viruses that are circulating, and there are multiple strains circulating at any given time. And the vaccine that we have actually contains 3 different strains in it. So the main strain in the vaccine actually is a good match for the main strain that is making Canadians sick right now. The concern is that some of these secondary strains do seem to be becoming a little bit more common. And because those secondary strains are not actually a good match for what's in the vaccine, if they were to become more common, like what happened in the Southern Hemisphere, then that could potentially make this flu season worse than it typically is. But for now, the vaccine is actually a pretty good match for what's making people sick at this current moment.
So for some Canadians, Dr. Labos, they might be saying, well, if there's a mismatch when it comes to the vaccine and the strain going around, maybe I shouldn't get the flu. But what you're saying is it still tackles that primary strain that's making people sick.
Absolutely, that's right. And things don't have to be perfect in order to be useful. And even if there is a mismatch, it still does offer some protection, just not as much as we would, obviously like.
Is there a way to tweak the vaccine during the flu season to make it much more of a match to the strain that's out there?
Unfortunately not, because it takes so long to manufacture these vaccines. The vaccine process actually has to start in the summer to be ready for the fall. So you can't actually change the vaccine that's there. You could, in theory, create a new vaccine, and this has been done. It was done during 2009, I think, but you wouldn't be able to change the vaccine that's currently available. And it would take some time to roll out a completely new vaccine if there was a completely new strain that came out of left field.
Let's look at Australia. It saw its second record high flu season in a row. What does that tell us about the type of flu season we'll see here in Canada?
So, as the old saying goes, prediction is hard, especially about the future. We don't know what's going to happen during the flu season. We can only measure it properly in retrospect, partly because most people don't ever get tested for the flu, right? They don't go and get a nasal swab. So we have to use mathematical modeling and wastewater data to get a sense of how bad the flu season actually was. We often look to the Southern Hemisphere to get a sense of what happened there, because what happened in the Southern Hemisphere tends to happen in the Northern Hemisphere. And so we use that as a predictive modeling base point. So, it was a bad year in the Southern